Hello one, hello all, and welcome back to a beginner's guide to Super Metroid. First of all, let me just say that if you're enjoying this series of videos, by all means, smash that like button, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps out the channel, and you will get alerts when the next episode is up. On that topic, I have a series of videos on Metroid Dread coming later this week once the game releases, so keep an eye on that. But back to Super Metroid. In case you missed the last installment of the beginner's guide, we entered the lower left portion of Norfair here, got a very special item called the Grappling Beam, and the whole area itself was guarded off by really just a big dancing teddy bear named Crocomire. I mean, he's not designed to be hurt by you. He doesn't take any damage, so I mean, he doesn't consider you a threat. He's just waving his arms around and saying, "Hi, yee." I mean, sure, when he opens his mouth, fireballs come out, but it's really just par for the course. He just wanted to give you a warm welcome to his portion of Norfair. Get it? Warm Norfair? Because it's bloody hot here. But there is another item on the opposite end of this little pool of acid. And there are multiple, as I used the Shine Spark incorrectly, there are multiple ways across this gap. You can use the Shine Spark if you're feeling particularly adventurous. And it's an energy tank, so you don't have to worry too much about the energy that you lose and going down into the acid. Bear in mind that you will need to wall jump to get back up. So if you aren't that great at wall jumping, you might have some problems, but that's okay. The intended route is, of course, to use the Grappling Beam. So that's the way I'm going to go back. If you are trying to get across right after you kill Crocomire, and you don't have the Grappling Beam yet, and you're trying to use the Shine Spark, be mindful. It's a very easy boss fight, but if for whatever reason you lost health, just be mindful and make sure that you do not die trying to get to that energy tank. Because the Shine Spark itself will damage you, and the acid will damage you too, so it's double trouble there. But that's okay. If you need energy, you can always come back to the energy recharge station. Always be mindful of where your missile recharge station is, of where your energy recharge station is, if you have need. If you don't have need, whatever. But it's always something there, more for beginners, just to stay healthy. But there are a couple of other things that I want to do now that I have the Grappling Beam. It's very important. Again, keep an open mind of where things are, where you could not previously access, what you got, and how it relates to moving forward. We remember this yellow door. Ah, power bombs open it up. We knew that already, but as we go in here, it has a new way it presented itself to us. Well, down there looks really treacherous, but hey, at least I can go this really narrow, really narrow little alcove here. Some weird spiky rocks and stuff like that. And oh. Well, this is certainly a lot less ambiguous than the Kraid boss door with just the gaping maw from Metroid 1. No, this is actually Ridley's face, and indeed, this is the entrance to Ridley's lair. And unfortunately, though it looks like power bombs might open up something, no. There's only one way to get into that gaping maw, and it's through the lava. Well, this is probably a bad idea, and indeed it is, so don't do that. There are such things as reverse boss order runs in this game. It is possible to get through there using a combination of glitches. I think bomb jumping is involved. Obviously, wall jumping would be involved. There are things that you can do to get there. And it's way beyond my skill level. Just shows the skill ceiling in this game is immense. But it is something that you can, if you're ever curious, you can look at and see just how ridiculously skilled players can be at this game. Now you may be asking yourself, reverse boss order, doesn't that mean that you would do Kraid last? And yes it does. Doesn't that mean that you wouldn't have the Various suit? Well, yes it does. And indeed, a lot of the reverse boss order treachery comes from the fact that, you know, the treacherous parts of the reverse boss order runs mean that you're doing a lot of what are called hell runs through superheated Norfair. And not only that, sometimes, you're also doing them in lava. So it's as if you're just perpetually in acid when you're in lava and in the superheated areas, because it's double dot damage. Double damage over time, not good. So, again, that's way above my skill level. But it is a truly wonderful sight to behold, just the crazy skill level that players can have in this game. But that is not the purpose of this playthrough. Just a beginner's guide. Get your foot in the door. I always encourage people who want to try this game and play it and learn it. You know, go whatever route you want to take. If you want to do 100% speedruns, there's a niche for that. If you want to do reverse boss order, there's a niche for that. If you want to do minimum percentage, there's a niche for that. That's the thing about Super Metroid, is that there's always like different ways to challenge yourself to play the game. But where we saw this missile before, you may recall these grapple blocks. And down there is a sort of a spike moat which blocks this area off. Again, as I mentioned before, it is possible to clear that jump if you get a running start during Samus's invincibility frames. I don't feel like doing that, especially, you know, now that my energy's starting to get a little bit lower. But here we are, a Chozo statue, and we've seen this symbol before. It's a new beam! We've got a snake, or is that a bird? I think it's a snake. Hard to tell. It's some weird alien creature holding a W, and indeed, much as it looks like in the original Metroid game, it is the Wave Beam. Now, the Wave Beam in the original Metroid game, and I guess also Return of Samus, Metroid 2, was a very weird item because you did not want it for the final area of the game. Because in both final areas of the game, you're dealing with Metroids, which can only be damaged by freezing them and using missiles. And if you can't freeze them, well, they're not going to sell any damage from a Wave Beam or anything else. So it's weird in this game how the Wave Beam, and they finally figured it out, to do stacking items. Now, because the beams didn't stack in the original game, you'd actually have to go back and forth. You know, if you wanted to pick up the Wave Beam, you'd have to go back and forth, get the Wave Beam, and then when it came time to go to the final area of the game, there was a special section that you could use to get the Ice Beam. So it wasn't as if you had to go all the way back to the start. It was the case in Metroid 1, though. Fortunately, though, there's the convenience of stacking items in this game. And you may have noticed when I took off my Various suit, hey, you can take your items off. Well, would that mean that you can take your beams off too? Yes, you can. If for whatever reason you want to just see what a beam looks like by itself, you see the Wave Beam is a sine wave, as its namesake. And it can go through walls. Very, very important. It cannot go through enemies, however. So we don't have the ability to do that. You can't destroy big clusters of enemies with a beam spread all at once. Can't be done. But why would you want the ability to take your beams apart and disassemble them, so to speak? Well, if you were watching that intro demo, you will find that there are special abilities that, in fact, Samus has access to that the game will never give you a tutorial on. It's just in the opening demo, that's it. One such ability is probably the best offensive maneuver in this game. It's what the fans have dubbed as the X Factor. Now, how do you get this thing to work? Well, it's sort of like using beam combos in Metroid Prime, as a matter of fact. Except instead of using missiles to activate the beam combo, you're using power bombs. What you want to do is you want to start up a charge, and as soon as it fully charges, it's going to automatically let loose. So you want to be in position to make it work. So here we go. And that's the X Factor. There are ways to make sure that all 4 hits of the X Factor hit simultaneously, and that does a ridiculous amount of damage. Each shot does, I don't know, I think it might be 300 damage. I forget it. I don't really know damage calculation in this game. But each shot does a lot of damage. And if you can get them to happen all at once on the same enemy, bam! It's like the highest DPS that you can do. Not that easy to pull off, but there are, in fact, other beam combos that you can do. All you need is the one beam. So if you stack any other ones, it won't work. So if I do ice and wave, it's not like it's going to give me an ice wave combo. It's only possible to activate with just the single beam by itself. So we'll get to a full charge, and this time we'll get the ice barrier. Kind of a cool little ability. And the Spazer Beam is really, I've never found a use for this one. I guess it looks cool. Oh, no, not super missiles. Spazer Beam, I guess, sort of makes it rain. Kind of a cool little ability, I suppose. As I kill the enemy, so I can't even get it to work. That's fine. I just wanted to demonstrate and show off the ability that you have to customize your beam however you want, and there are reasons to do it. I don't particularly, just the way I play the game, I do 100% run, so I never have a need for something like the X Factor, despite how absurdly powerful it is. But here we have some missiles here in this room. Finally, we can reach it. But if I were to sort of frantically be shooting towards that enemy, I might have accidentally activated something. Oh, not a great example, but here we go. It's a little rising gate. That's awfully convenient. And we can see that, yes, indeed, there's more to this secret area. Uncharted on the maps. That's okay. We've got an ice beam. And this is really the reason that I like to just use the default fully suited out beam, the full kit. Just because it gives you the convenience for enemies that you can't kill to at least be able to freeze them. It does the most damage that you can do. And here, we've got a reserve tank. Yes, indeed. But wait, there's more, because much like with the reserve tank room in Brinstar, I don't understand why reserve tank rooms are so weird, but like all of them are. All of them in this game are really weird. How you're supposed to know this missile tank is just sitting here floating in the ether, I don't know. Because again, there is an item that will show you hidden collectibles in this game. Unfortunately, it's not like it will just pin them on your map, like sort of the Metroid Prime games will do. You actually have to go around to each individual room and use this item to see and look around. Oh, is there anything hidden here? It's very complicated. And so that's why this guide exists, because it just gives you the ability to see where everything is, generally about the point in the game when you're expected to find whatever it is. But there's one more item that I want to get, and I'm going to have to make a little bit of a bob and weave here. Down here. This is the way that you're supposed to get to Crocamire's route, I suppose. Well, no. No, you're not. You're not supposed to get to him before the wave beam. Or no, you're not supposed to get the wave beam before him. In case you do, that's how you do it. And we just drop back down here. And I know that the energy room is there, so I'm gonna actually take advantage of it because I sort of screwed around a little bit, lost a bunch of health. That's okay, because I can recharge my energy. If you want, there is a speed running tactic that I will just show off. It's a little glitchy, but it's so easy to pull off that you can do this for map stations as well, but, well, as I do it incorrectly. Never mind. That's okay. I'm going to be running into a map station pretty soon anyway. But I do want to take this sort of under route near where we saw Crocamire, but not exactly, because we're going to be going up this time. Going to be killing the cact plants for some super missiles and I guess some power bombs. And don't be shy about using those beam combos if you're feeling really bored, because you use power bombs in such a limited capacity in this game. I mean, they do all right damage. They can hit enemies twice if you use it at the right time. But really, power bombs are just there to open the way. And you don't need a whole lot of them. You certainly don't need, I think it's 50 in total, with how many enemies do drop them. But across this grapple beam set of blocks, got one more missile tank. And fortunately, a very convenient little path back to the Norfair Main Street. Right here. Past the Emer. And hey, we're back at the entrance. And finally, can use power bombs. Open this door up. And it's almost useless to get this now, I'm fairly certain. But let's, so if you hit start, right as you, well, I'm doing this incorrectly. It's just a little speedrun tactic to save time. But if you hit start as soon as you make contact with it, you can skip the animation. And yeah, the map data is downloaded even after I'm sort of walking away from it. It's very weird. But by this time, this map station is fairly useless. I mean, there are a couple of things that I haven't seen yet, but all this really tells me is where Ridley is. You see the boss icon down at the lower right corner there. But between that and the lava lake with the gaping maw that you see, like in the pretty much the lower right now, everything is uncharted. His lair is not on the map with the exception of his room itself. So by this point, I really do feel like, you know, I guess I could have used the map station prior to this. Yeah, that would have made more sense. But it would have required me to actually go past the room with the speed gates. I guess it's a horse apiece. Whatever. I probably should have done that on my way in rather than on my way out, because it's lost all purpose now. But whatever. That's the purpose of this guide. Now, there still is something that I can access over here in Kraid's lair, but I don't really think that you're intended to go that route until after you get a special item in Meridia, which is actually the area that I'm in right now, technically. Although, I have no way to get into it. It's really weird. There's just this little pocket of Meridia, but the only thing that seems to be there is just a tube. It shows you, hey, water's here, but that's it. I wonder what it means. Oh, spoiler alert, I totally know what it means, but you are not. This is a beginner's guide, so we're gonna take this the beginner's approach. And as I totally do the non-beginner's approach of wall jumping up this route, that really didn't work out too well. Wait for the Ripper to thaw. Alright, there we go. So now at long last, I can get the item that I've been alluding to for quite some time now. I can use power bombs to open up these blocks. And now that we have the grappling beam, I can finally get the thing that I sort of hinted at and came into this room for. Again, try not to destroy too many of these lightning bugs. They do keep the room lit. And as the room gets dimmer and dimmer, you'll actually lose sight of the platforms and stuff. I think that the grapple blocks, well, not that you really need to know where the grapple blocks are. They're kind of obviously on the ceiling. I think the spikes also stay visible, but everything else is sort of hidden, and that's not good. But on the other side, we got a missile door and a very convoluted, interesting little maze setup here. I don't know, oh, okay, cool. So we've got an opening and closey gate. And on the other side, we've got a Chozo statue, and that's a weird looking little thing. Is it a missile or? Nope, it's the X-ray scope. So once you have it equipped, you press the run button. So it means that when you have the X-ray scope equipped, you cannot run. You are instead looking around and seeing destructible blocks. Sometimes you'll be able to see the crumbly blocks before they've revealed themselves, and you'll be able to see the layout of some areas that are hidden by the foreground, like so. So it's a nifty little thing for first-timers. The only reason that I ever bother with this thing is for completion percentage, so I don't really worry too much about it for any other reason. I don't use it because I know where everything is, but that's okay. It is something that, as I have mentioned countless times, I think that the developers put in as just a way of letting you, once you have a fully kitted out suit, and all you really need is more pickups. I guess it's supposed to give you an option to retrace all of your steps and find things that you may not have found before, such as that missile tank that was in the reserve tank room in Norfair, or a number of other things. I mean, they really do just, I guess, expect you to use Zebes as your own personal sandbox and see where to go next. But I think I'm going to go back to Samus's ship. It would probably be very important to go back to Samus's ship right now, because we are going to be entering a relatively dangerous area. The area itself is not dangerous yet. It will become dangerous later, but there will be a boss encounter in a very short time into going into this next area. So it would be helpful to have a full stock of super missiles, power bombs, all that stuff, just in case. And again, I guess with regards to that power bomb room, where you're supposed to get the power bombs the first time, you know, if I were to go down and to the left, I think what you're expected to do is just go around with the X-ray scope on various things. I guess if you use the power bombs right when you get them, it'll reveal itself. Sort of like how Samus does things in Metroid Prime when she gets a new ability, or like if it's a missile or a super missile or power bombs, she'll just blow things up with them right in like a cutscene. She'll just use it immediately. So I guess that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try out your newfound item immediately. But it's time to find ourselves back here in Criteria. These key hunters no longer pose any threat to me whatsoever. Use the speed booster to blast through those rocks, and here we are. Once again, we've done a big giant circle around planet Zebes. This is our second big giant circle. We might do a big giant circle in a different direction pretty shortly. But yeah, I think this is a good place to stop. It will allow me to go to the wrecked ship and devote all of my next episode to that. There is something between me and Meridia, and it's the wrecked ship. Sounds spoopy. And indeed it is. I guess it's sort of spoopy. But thank you all for joining me. And I will see you all as I do an X Factor. Why? No, that's not an X Factor. That's just a power bomb. As I do an X Factor to bid you all adieu. How about you equip the power bombs? There we go. Third time's the charm. Thank you very much, ladies and gents. And I'll see you all next time. Take care.